Good morning, everyone. Late welcome to a Friday morning. Slept in a little. Not a lot, but a little. So sorry for that. But we're on. The beauty of podcasting, you can, unlike with TV, you got to be right on time. I can be a little late every now and again. So, sorry. First alarm went off, turned it off. Second alarm went off, turned it off. Didn't quite go to sleep, thankfully, but probably should have got up on that second alarm. But anyway, here we are in Melbourne. We'll get straight into it since we're running out behind. There's our weather out over the bay, as you can see. Overcast, not raining, thankfully. Probably will, but doesn't look great. No wind at all, pretty much. And the bay is like a pond. So that's our weather. On a Friday morning in Melbourne, nearly we're 2/3 of the way through winter. So the lack of rain here is a bit of a concern because, we've got our bureaucrats that will crack it and put us on water restrictions and all that sort of nonsense if we don't get enough rain because they don't build dams. But anyway, that's what it is. So Friday, we're up to July 31st, last day of the month. Ouch. All right. A life of obedience, honor the Lord, Joshua, Bible passage, 24:1-8 and 13 through 15. Much later, Joshua called the people together and reminded them what God had done for them. This was an encouragement to obey the law. For those who don't know, Joshua was the successor to Moses. Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel together at Shechem. He called the elders, the leaders, the judges, and the officers of Israel, and they came into the presence of God. Joshua said to all the people, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, has to say. Long ago, your ancestors lived on the other side of the river Euphrates and worshipped other gods. One of those ancestors was Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor. Then I took Abraham, your ancestor, from the land beyond the Euphrates and led him through the whole land of Canaan, I should say. I gave him many descendants. I gave him Isaac, and to Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. I gave Esau the hill country of Edom as his possession, but your ancestor Jacob and his children went down to Egypt. Later I sent Moses and Aaron, and I brought great trouble on Egypt, but I led you out. I brought your ancestors out of Egypt, and the Egyptians pursued them with chariots and cavalry. But when your ancestors got to the Red Seas, they cried out to me for help, and I put darkness between them and the Egyptians. I made the sea come rolling over the Egyptians and drown them. You know what I did to Egypt. You lived in the desert a long time. Then I brought you to the land of the Amorites, who lived on the east side of the Jordan. They fought you, but I gave you victory over them. You took their land, and I destroyed them as you advanced. I gave you a land that you had never cultivated and cities that you had not built. Now you are living there and eating grapes from vines that you did not plant and olives from trees that you did not plant. Now then, Joshua continued, honor the Lord and serve him sincerely and faithfully. Get rid of the gods which your ancestors used to worship in the Mesopotamia and in Egypt and serve only the Lord. If you are not willing to serve him, decide today whom you will serve, the gods your ancestors worshipped in Mesopotamia or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are now living. As for my family and me, we will serve the Lord." Wow. He laid it on him, didn't he? That's interesting. Probably not as applicable to anything we're saying today, but always interesting to read. Yeah, that's our history. If you're a Christian, that's your heritage. If you're a Jewish person, that's your heritage. Not too sure whether the Islamic people believe in a lot of that stuff, but it'd be interesting to get them on and find out. Speaking of which, today I did promise to everyone an empty chair interview. So today, there's our empty chairs. But I'm going to be fair today because I'm also going to show you something else. So the empty chairs today was supposed to be for Anchor and Warren from One Nation Victoria, because we've been talking to them, inviting them, sending messages to HQ in One Nation in Queensland, and just simply trying to get an interview with someone from Victoria in One Nation. I've got to say, I wasn't expecting it after I interviewed Malcolm Roberts and gave him a decent interview. I wasn't expecting this to be this difficult. So it has proven that way. But what is interesting, I found out yesterday, thanks to my mate Ben from Australian Talk, that One Nation are having a big event on Monday to announce their candidates for the Victorian election. Now, if you watch the Pauline Hand interview during the week with Paul Murray, or the town hall, I should say, I'm not too sure how many they're going to be announcing, because what Pauline said is they're going to be announcing the upper house candidates first. I don't know how many that's going to be. So anyway, to be fair, and because I want to pump up the tires of One Nation, for those One Nation ones listening, I will wait until after this big announcement on Monday, see what they've got to say. And then if I get no further communications, I will go ahead with the empty chair interview next week. So sadly, I was looking forward to this. And I got a little bit of flack yesterday. I'll just get this up. I got a little bit of flack yesterday because, I don't have a right to do empty set interviews, blah, blah, blah. They didn't ask to be interviewed. Well, yes, they did. I did ask them to be interviewed. And worse, in Warren's case, he got on a thread and said he'd love to be interviewed, and I've not heard from him again since. And in Bianca's case, we were exchanging DMs on X, and she committed to coming on. So it's not like here we go. It's not like they haven't been given the chance. And if they didn't want to come on, they had the right to reply to me and say, don't come on. It's interesting with DMs on X. It's amazing how quickly sometimes people can reply. And then it's also amazing how sometimes people just go to ground. And it's not just these guys either, by the way, to be fair. So anyway, here's the details. $120, bug of that. I'm not going. Senator Hanson, good on him. This is through their try booking. Hawthorne, August the 3rd, so that's next weekend, 6 p.m. $120, canopies included. Sorry, One Nation. I wouldn't do that for any political party. You are asking us for our votes. Our votes to you are worth gold. They're actually worth money to any political party. And no doubt we'll get some sort of public announcement, and via the news, hopefully via the news or some media, we'll get to find out who these candidates are. It would be nice for these candidates to start coming on podcasts like my own or any others, so we can get an idea of what they stand for and represent. So if I'm being critical of One Nation anything, and I don't like it because, again, I want to pump up their tires. If I can be critical of One Nation of anything, it's a bit too controlling. So what I mean by that, okay, go to the Flinders by-election. And when they had the candidate there, they couldn't trust the candidate. So Pauline came down, which is great. Not knocking that at all. But she controlled the whole thing. The whole media conference was all about Pauline. They had the candidate there, but whenever he tried to speak, he wasn't impressive. But when he tried to speak, Pauline came in over the top, and even Avi came in over the top to have a go at the press gallery that was there. And that just, for me, raised more questions than answers. Why are you not letting this guy speak? What are you worried about? Now, this is one of the things that is the big critique of One Nation from their political enemies, because we don't get to know their candidates. And even the guy that won the by-election up north in Victoria, who's now in federal parliament, he's come out and said some things that have caused some issues for Pauline and One Nation. So we need, the whole purpose of a democracy is for us to be able to basically conduct interviews of these candidates and find out whether we want to support them or not. And that goes for the other political parties who next week I will be also writing to and asking for interviews. And I will also do empty seat interviews for them if they don't come on board. Now, one of my mates on X, I won't show you who he is because I don't think that's fair. I'll give you an example, and he knows who he is, but I won't use his name. And he sent me a message. I think the empty seat guilt trip is a mistake. Now, I don't know why it's a guilt trip. Okay, so for example, I'm just going to be getting onto, for example, their Facebook pages and showing what their One Nation Facebook pages and showing what they've announced in policy. How is that a guilt trip? These guys are asking us for our votes in less than 18 weeks. After Sunday, it's less than 17 weeks. The clock is ticking. Nobody owes you an appearance. Well, yeah, political candidates do. Political MPs do. They owe us all an appearance. They need to be coming on to whatever medium they can to tell us what they're about, what they're going to do in Parliament, all this. Why do they not owe us an appearance? Of course they do. They're asking for our vote. They need to come and talk to us. So I disagree with that. One Nation are running a smaller target campaign, and I'm not surprised Bianca isn't out there more. Well, I am. And that jet knows who he is, and I love him to death. Like I said, I'm not going to. He's a private citizen. He's not standing for Parliament. A smaller target campaign, I don't agree with. And I'm not. While I want to pump up One Nation's ties, when they need to be criticised, I will enter into some criticism. Come on the program and we'll deal with this sensibly. I'm not going to kowtow to any politician or any political party at all, One Nation included. I will pump up their ties because their policy platform represents the best platform as a conservative that I think I can support. I admire and respect Pauline for what she's done, but she's also no different to any other politician or any candidate. They have to be open for scrutiny before an election. And it's actually, I would say, smaller target campaigns on One Nation's end are no good. You need to get people in there that can know how to push back. I mean, if they're too worried about criticism in an election, what are they going to be like if they're in Parliament or even more importantly, they're in government? They're going to face a whole lot more criticism than that. There was a comment by an American politician about the Biden administration. You know, they discovered that standing for election was easier than actually running an administration. And that is so very true. You know, you might win the election, but then you've got over in Australia 3 years, over in America 4. But then you've got, say, here 3 years of where you're going to have the microscope intently over you. And you're better off having that microscope over you during the election build-up and campaign than when you're in government. Get all your crap, get all your dirty laundry out of the way with, and then stand by your people. And then it's aired and it's done. If it comes out once they're in Parliament, do you reckon they're not going to be attacking One Nation and Pauline then? We've got to try and make sure, as the voting public, that whoever makes government have the best people available so we don't keep getting idiots and morons into our parliaments that just make our problems worse. So respectfully, I disagree with my friend there. They do owe us an appearance. It's not a guilt trip. It's about asking them questions about what One Nation is going to do if they take government, or if they win an upper house seat, or if they win the balance of power in the Senate, or if they're going to form a coalition with the government to form government in the lower house. What are their plans? We don't know. Now, on August 3rd, we're certainly going to get a bit better idea. Are the candidates are going to announce allowed to be able to go out into the public, conduct their own media things, put out their own ideas, or is it all going to be controlled by Central HQ? Now, you know, the other parties could be guilty of that. Well, then that's just as wrong. But, you know, love them or hate them, and I hate them, the Liberal and Labor Party do have their spokespeople and some candidates who get out there and they put forward an argument. Now, I don't agree with a lot of their bullshit, but they're out there right now putting out an argument in Victoria. Look at this week. Both ALP and LNP have been out there butting heads all week, and good on them. That's exactly what we need. And ALP, you're probably going to hate this, but they've responded to the polls. They've responded to what's going on, which is a classical example of democracy. We'll go over them in a minute. And some of the changes they're bringing about are good. They should have brought them about 12 months ago. But some of the changes they're doing, they're getting rid of some idiots out of their cabinet and their ministry. So I said this right at the very start. I think Ben Carroll's a very good operator. I think he'll give Gis Wilson a real run for their money. And I think he'll give One Nation a run for their money. Well, when he discovers who the hell they are. But we're going to find that out on August 3rd. So it would be, I think it would be unfair of me to do the empty chair interviews today. So we put it off a week. What's another week? And we'll get on with that next week. So, which is a little disappointing. I was looking forward to it. But you've got to be fair. And while I will be critical of political parties, whatever their persuasion, I will try to be also fair in that criticism and trying to get people on board. By the way, these, excuse me, coffee time. I've got to have my coffee breaks before it, before my coffee gets cold. Such a big cup. By the time I get to the bottom, if I don't drink my coffee, it gets cold. But anyway, so it's not going to be just restricted to politicians, by the way, in Canada. It's going to be these empty chair interviews. So I'm approaching a number of people that aren't standing in the election, but they have a big impact on public life, and they want to have a big impact on public life. They want to influence our lives. So just like political candidates, they should come on and answer a few questions. So, for example, Scott Challen came on and had a really good interview with me for 2.5 hours. Disappointingly, he's now said to me that once I get Avi Yemeni on, he'll come on. And I'm going, well, Avi's a big fish. And I'm small fry. And look, Avi's on my list. Avi is not afraid to stick a microphone and camera in your face, even if you haven't asked for it. So, you know, and he's also not particularly worried, which is fair enough, about humiliating people publicly. So, and I kind of enjoy it, I'll be honest. So, but Avi then, if he conducts himself, and this goes for Rukshan as well, and to Rukshan's credit, for example, he has given me a commitment that he'll come on the show. I can't wait for that interview. It'll be a good interview. I'd love to get Avi on the show. Now, I've sent that out. I will send it out in a DM this week. So there'll be a number of people. I've asked David Limbrick and Jordan Ditloff to come on the podcast. And Jordan, to his credit, has come on before. So I hope I get some pull there. But there's a lot of people, whether you're a social media influencer, you know, I'd like to get a mainstream media personality on the show, but I just don't think I'm a big enough at this stage. And I don't know whether I want to get any bigger, to be honest, but we'll see where it takes us. Influence on social media for that to happen, for example. But there are a lot of social media influencers that should come on. I've asked Beck Freedom, you know, from the Australian Marches or whatever they are, to come on. Her and Scott Challen have been at each other's throats for a while now. So I gave Scott Challen a fair hearing. I should give Beck a fair. But Beck's been invited several times. I know Beck through Ben. She's communicated on my podcasts by giving me questions through Ben. So come on the show, Beck. Come and talk to me. I'm not a big – I'm just an old boomer. So I'm finding it quite amusing that people don't want to come on the show. I don't know why. Maybe I'm too straight talker. I don't know. But if anyone's seen any of the interviews I do or the Big J podcast I do, I'm not that threatening. I will oppose your points of view where I think I should. So that's fine. But you'll oppose mine too, where you think I should. So anyway, it's all very amusing. So that's why I've come up with the empty chair interview. If you want to influence our lives, whether you're from a politician, an influencer, bureaucrat, and you don't think you're accountable to any of the public, not just me, This is what a democracy should be all about. We should be able to call in and invite these people on, and they should be willing to come on, whether they're a local government politician, state politician, federal politician, whether my program's big or small, they should find the time to come on. This is what they get paid for. Hundreds of $1,000s a year they get paid for this. So anytime they don't, I just think that's a bit of a slap in the face to all of us. So, yeah, I'll do empty chair interviews, and I'll have a talk to a few of them, and we'll see how we go. Jeez, I've got someone following me on YouTube first thing in the morning. That's good fun. Welcome aboard. So, anyway, that's my rant for today. We'll get on to the empty chair interviews next week. Monday is going to be very interesting, really interesting on what One Nation announced. And I hope it's a really good event. I hope we get really high-quality candidates. I hope there's a leader announced. And hopefully One Nation headquarters can get us to get somebody from One Nation to come and talk to me. You know, I'm not your enemy. I want you to win in November. But I am desperate for One Nation to get some representatives out so we can pump up your bloody tires. And explain your strategy. I'm not understanding it, but there could be a clear strategy there on what you're going about. I'd love to know what it is, and I'd love to know what policies you've got in Victoria for fixing our debt, getting our energy back up, getting coal energy back going, getting nuclear energy into the state, addressing crime in the state. What are you going to do about housing? What are you going to do about the infrastructure and the potholes? There's a lot of Victorian-based issues here that need addressing. What are you going to do about the safe injecting rooms? Are they going to stay where they are, for example? What are you going to do about the move-on orders where we've got homeless people in front of supermarkets all over Melbourne? You know, there's issue after issue that are Melbourne and state orientated. What about our regional friends who are getting the big towers put on their farms? What's your policy on that? So if you've got any ideas and you're a Victorian like me, send them through. And if you've got any questions for these guys, send them through. And I'll ask them directly or I'll ask them through the empty chair. One way or the other, we'll get some questions out there and we'll try and obtain some answers from their own media, their own social media and media press announcements they put out, and we'll keep approaching them about getting some candidates put on. And we'll be doing the same with the Liberal and Labor. We'll start that next week. So I just wanted to give One Nation first bite at the cherry to give them a leg up into this campaign. I don't see why that is such a big deal. But anyway, it seems to be. Maybe they'll become more open after August 3rd. Hopefully they see where it is. So I'll send them a direct message again. Keep at them. I've just got to keep at them. And away we go. So anyway, time to get into my X-Base. Now, there's been very interesting developments in Europe that I think are very important to us here in Australia. And there's a comment by our mate, Minister Burke, in regards to all of this. So let's have a look at what is going on in the world of X this morning. Got to get into my bookmarks. And good chance of me getting good of a coffee. So unless you've been living under a rock, which you may be, because things do happen very quickly, I want to show you some images. This is in Spain. Now, you've got the interesting thing in Spain, and one thing I've looked up is this city. Here we go. I'll show you first where this is. Because when you see this, you'll start going on, where the hell's this place? So these pictures come from a Spanish city. Don't ask me how to pronounce it. Ceuta or something. Now, this is actually in North Africa. It's not on continental Europe. So it borders on Morocco. So it's a colony of Spain. All right, and it's just across from Gibraltar. So there's the Gibraltar Strait. Now they've had these people, so that's continental Europe and Spain. This is North Africa, and this is a section of Spain. This belongs to Spain with the border there. Borders Morocco. Morocco's an Islamic country. Spain is supposedly a Christian country. It's only a small little colony, but it's not far. It's a short distance by boat to the coast of Spain and Gibraltar, which is English, by the way. But then they got mainland Spain. So let's have a look at what's going on in this city. People, and I'll give you some context. The president of Spain, who's a socialist, gave all immigrants, illegal or legal, immigrants, amnesty. That means whoever actually hits their shores becomes a Spanish citizen, not a citizen, but they get all the rights. So they get all the healthcare, accommodation, money for food, all that sort of thing. So it's Christmas. They don't get that in their own thing. Now watch all these photos. The thing you should be, and he opened up the borders of Spain for this. Now, this borders on Europe because if you go into Spain, once you're in Spain, you've got free access to other European countries like France, Italy, Germany, Belgium. And the estimates they're talking about, and I've got no idea if it's true, but the pictures seem to verify it, is they've had up to 80,000 men, fighting age men, cross their border into Spanish territory. Have a look at these scenes. This is incredible. And this is what you get with socialism. No women, no children, none of that. We'll give you another more frightening image. I think it's more frightening. Now imagine you're living in this city and these men have come in during the day. And like they say, there's an awful lot of them. These are men from another country, no jobs, no accommodation, no family, nothing. This, as it says up here, night has fallen in southern Spain. So this is in the city. All these hours, thousands of immigrants from North Africa continue to enter Melilla. Oh, God, well, where the hell's Melilla? Let's see where this is. I think that's important for context because if that's mainland Spain, that makes a bit of a difference. That then is very concerning. No, it looks like another colony by the looks of it. So there's Melilla. So yeah, there's Kuta, there's Melilla. So they've got a number of these little colonies along the North African coast. So because he's declared amnesty, they're all flooding into these. But then once they get here, it's a boat ride across into Spain. And they've got amnesty, so they can get those boats, they can get that trip. So Spanish families have had to barricade themselves in their homes and are asking not to go out on the streets. It was a long night, every man for himself. So these are foreigners in your country roaming your streets. They're saying up to 80,000 of them. Well, look. Come on. This is in the evening. Where are they going to? I mean, that's an invasion. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. If you're living in one of those colonies, you expect your government to be defending it. Well, these men, fighting age men, have just poured into these territories and cities of Spain. And can you see a police officer there? Can you see soldiers there? They've just opened up their borders and they're flooding in. And you're a Spanish person who lives in one of these cities, and these men are now roaming your streets. You can barricade your house all you like, but if 20 of these guys decide they want in, how are you going to stop them? And then what's going to happen when they get in? Frightening. Imagine this was happening on our streets. Now, there's a reason I'm bringing all this up. You'll see why in a minute. I'll come back to that in a tick. I don't know what that is. In the light of the invasion is taken. Oh, okay. This is actually important. So this would be what I'm not going to show you all this. In light of the invasion, so this is what they're coming there for. In light of the invasion that's taken place in Spain today, don't know who this guy is, Nate Friedman, but it seems like worth a follow. I'm releasing my full documentary on Spain's migrant crisis right here on X. In this video, I speak to an illegal from Morocco, so that's where those colonies were, who was getting cash, free healthcare, and more, while Spain's young people continue to not be able to afford homes. Sound familiar? I asked him if I could enter Morocco illegally, and he said no. Every illegal migrant I spoke to said they would vote for Sanchez. This is the president that's given them amnesty until their death. Who does that sound like in Australia? This was about voting, and if you watch the documentary, no other argument can be based in logic. So get onto my feed. I'll give a like to this, and I will share it because I think every Australian should be looking at this. I'll be having a look tonight. This documentary is featuring Adol Luch and members of Voxes. I don't know who the hell they are, but let's just have a quick listen.
These are the streets of Barcelona. When you look up, these are the flags you see. These are the signs you see.
Unbelievable.
This is what the shops look like. These are what the parks look like. These are migrants waiting to get their papers after Spain's prime minister legalized 500,000 illegal migrants. They will reveal the truth to me in this video.
90% of Arab countries, young people came to Europe.
A migrant from Morocco stabbed an innocent woman 30 times while yelling Allahu Akbar in a quiet suburb in Barcelona. I will also be going to that suburb to ask the residents if enough is enough. The Western world is officially at stake. This is the downfall of Spain. Welcome back to the Nate Friedman Show. I'm from America and I'm a journalist, and I'm asking people what they think of Sanchez legalizing 500,000 migrants. What are your thoughts on that?
It's good.
Yeah, why is it good?
Why many people without paper here, without work. President Sanchez, he speak, will give you papers.
Yeah. Would you like to see millions of people become
Oh my God.
legalized here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how many people would you say?
More than 1 million people.
We should do another 1 million people?
I hope.
Yeah. Okay. And do you think that they will be voting for Sanchez once they become citizens?
Again?
Do you think that they will be voting for Sanchez once they become citizens?
100%.
Yeah.
100% for Sanchez, a socialist. So it's going to become an Islamic socialist state, the rate they're going, because all these people coming in, he's giving them free stuff.
100% sure.
And that's why you have Long Live Sanchez,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
We pray for him.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's good guy.
Yeah. And is Sanchez good for the Islamic community?
Yes.
Yeah. And why is he good for the Islamic community here?
Muslim people like it.
Why do they like him?
He stand with Iran. He stand with Iran. With
See behind that photos of Gaddafi, Islamic ringtone, stands with Iran.
Yes.
That's why people
Got
like
it.
it.
Of course. Hey, we're making a YouTube video. Can I talk to you? So, are you just gonna take a piss here? He's just taking a piss right there. No, we don't want to. I don't want to.
All right, get it in my hand.
Huh?
Give me $5.
I don't have $5.
$5.
I don't have it.
Go.
Okay, well, go.
Go.
Yeah, we drop. All I wanted was to ask these migrants where they came from. They were just sitting outside an art museum in Barcelona, and that's when they just attacked us. All right, so this is just another Saturday in Barcelona. We were told that there's a protest here. I didn't see anything scheduled, but this is just what they do all the time. So let's just talk to a few folks here, see how different it is here versus in the United States.
Who wants to translate with me? Okay, all right, there.
Hi, hola.
What do you think about the 500,000 illegal migrants that Sanchez legalized?
Primero, la palabra ilegal es errónea. Son personas, trabajadores que están sin papeles.
And there is the problem. What? They are people workers who have no papers. So.
Para empezar, están trabajando con unos sueldos de miseria, pero además para la economía española son necesarios, imprescindibles.
This is why Western civilization is going to fail, because of white liberal women like this. Don't forget, Sanchez can only do this because Spanish citizens have voted him into power. I mean, it's beyond belief.
Ya no solamente porque están haciendo un trabajo, además porque sabemos que la pirámide de natalidad es insuficiente.
She's worried about a pension. So the birth rate is insufficient for the next few years, so they've got to bring in immigrants who will then have potentially children, and their birth rate will go up. So this is what Scott Shalin talks about, civilization replacement. It actually gives validity to that argument. I don't like that argument, but the politicians are forcing it upon us.
Para los próximos años. Y además de todo, son personas que están viviendo aquí hace años, muchos, ya hace años, y están trabajando con unas condiciones.
Well, that's the problem of their government. That's not the problem of our. I'm sick of this. We put a video on earlier this week where if you keep taking people away from their countries, you actually make their problems worse. By bringing them here, you can't solve the. There is 9 billion poor in the world. We can't let them all just flood into your country or your continent. Otherwise, that's the end of it. Your civilization dies. Full stop. You defend what you own or you lose it.
Injustas. Necesitan papeles. No solamente podemos dar papeles a la gente que lo puede pagar, sino a la gente que lo necesita. Tenemos muchos turistas en este país que están destruyendo esta ciudad porque la ocupan.
So she's more concerned about tourists than illegal immigrants.
Nos permiten vivir en la ciudad con tranquilidad, ¿no? ¿Para enriquecer a quién?
Hola. Do you speak English?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. They legalized 500,000 migrants.
That has to be a trans man.
Speaking about, what do you think about this action?
Oh, I think it's really good. I'm really astonished, or I think Pedro Sanchez now is doing really good things. He's the only guy who's opposite to Trump.
Yes.
He really says what all the governments should set, and also what he did with the immigrants is also, I think it's really cool because, we all need the immigrants, and all over Europe.
Yes.
They are very important in our economy, and legalizing it is also a sign to the public that it's a sign of respect, when you legalize it, you respect them, and
So I've spoken to the other side who believe that legalizing these migrants, that it's about votes. They say that they will all vote for Sanchez, and that's why they're legalizing. What do you say to that?
I want to say that's a stupid argument. I'm really stupid.
That was a stupid argument. I just said it.
And why is it stupid?
Even if he does it for votes, it's something is okay.
Because
he did it,
Yeah. Sure.
If he does this for votes, okay, he can do more things like that for votes,
Sure. So I went recently to Raval. I don't know if you've been there. Yeah.
I live here.
I
live here.
I noticed some differences. Like when I'm walking around here, I see more people from Spain. When I was in El Raval, I saw more people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, whatever. When you go over to El Raval, do you feel safe? Do you feel comfortable there?
Yes, I've been living here since more than 20 years.
I call bullshit on that. Same thing with Australia. The people that are the loudest people for immigration are the ones that don't mix with them. You saw what happened to this guy in front of that museum where he's nearly attacked by an immigrant that was just obviously off his head on drugs. Call bullshit. I bet you she does not go, or he, or whatever it is, go to these immigrant-based suburbs at all.
Some streets are a little bit strange, but
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
I feel safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know some people are concerned about the rise of Islam in Europe. They saying there.
I know.
What do you say to those people?
I mean, it's a religion. Some things they're difficult. It's very difficult issue.
Yeah.
You know, also for me, there are some things I really. It's a problem because. All the countries where there is the Islam, the women, they don't have rights. Okay, so but I would never create.
She acknowledges there a problem, but then she ignores it.
Something against the people because all the individuals they are nice and respectful. It's more the political system which creates this yes.
Yeah.
So. We have to face it. I mean, it's face facts. We all are. It's a international movement. Or the clothes are made in Bangladesh, and of course they come here.
Yeah.
It's like it's to the coin. If you explain. You can expect that. Of course, they want to come. They see us happy, so we have to. It's a problem, but we have to save. We have to find a solution and not. Anti.
Yeah. Of course, I understand. I was recently in London and I asked a woman a question I'm going to ask you, which is that would you be okay if Barcelona became 90% Muslim, let's say? Would that be okay with you?
What's the question for?
The question
it's
is
really,
because
It's a valid bloody question.
It's a stupid question.
I'll explain.
No, it's not.
No, I'll ask you why I'm
Okay, enough of this woman. I'll watch that later on. I think that I've shared it. That'll be a really good program for us to look. This is the problem. In Australia, in England, in USA, you've got the leftist socialist side that make arguments for this mass immigration that is going to change our country entirely. I am not opposed to immigration, but it needs to be controlled. It can't be mass immigration, and it's got to be people that complement our heritage, our way of life. And you say that, and I'll give you an example of a politician who puts it here in a minute, and you call a terrorist, a racist, a bigot. It's beyond belief. So it's not just an Australian problem. She sounds like a leftist in Melbourne. These are the same issues, and if you don't think we've got these issues, have a look at this. This is, like this guy's put, I'm receiving these images, because this is all come about because of this amnesty, of how Moroccan authorities are emptying trucks full of young people near the border with Kuwait. That's that city I showed you before. Anyone who doesn't want to see this is a perfectly orchestrated operation by the regime is simply blind. So they're trucking in. There's a police officer. Have a look at this. Look at them all. You see any women or children there? Did we see any women or children getting off that truck? That is organised for them to be crossing into that border. Morocco, this is planned. These aren't legitimate immigrants. They're not legitimate referees. I've got no doubt these guys are going in with a predetermined plan. Look at it. Laughing, joking, having a good old time. You're sitting out and invading into another country. Now, if you did that, let's say Nazi Germany 1939, the Wehrmacht, the German army, they'd shoot you. You'd be dead. That's why they didn't happen. Can't do that these days. You've got to give them a healthcare card, a Centrelink payment, a housing commission house. Back in the good old days, the Conservatives, you'd get shot for doing this. You know what? This is coming our way if it's not already here. I mean, why did my father fight for Australia in New Guinea in World War II to protect our borders from invasion when now politicians are legalising it? I mean, it's heading our way. Incredible. Terribly sad as well. And I'll tell you, and when you say, it's heading our way, rubbish. Well, okay. Then look at this Muppet. Look at this Muppet. Tony Burke, one of the most treasonous people I think you can set eyes on in Australia. Breaking Labor MP, give us integrity a follow, QBCC integrity. Breaking Labor MP Tony Burke just labelled, hold on guys, I forgot to plug in my battery. I'm going to drop out like I did yesterday. There we go, back on. Breaking Labor MP Tony Burke just labelled 67% of Australians who assert immigration is far too high a potential terrorism challenge for Australia's terrorism agencies. The risk to ordinary Australians can't be understated. Well, so am I one of those that is a potential terrorist challenge? Internet, not immigration, poses biggest security risk, says Burke. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke says it is the internet, not migration, the internet, that poses the biggest challenge for radical views in Australia that pose a potential terrorism challenge for intelligence agencies. So, okay, I'll give you an example. If I get Beck Freedom on my show and interview her, and she's got remigration ideas and all that, is that an act of terrorism? Or is that me soliciting views so we can all have a sensible debate? According to Tony Burke, I'm pretty sure he considered that an act of terrorism. Think about that for a moment. They're trying to shut up any criticism of their policies going forward. It's incredible. Now, I'm not too sure about this lady. So this is Georgie Maloney, the Italian PM. And this is a good message. Does she back it up? Will she back it up with action? She hasn't so far. The images coming from, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing this right, I'd say it's Kuta, are striking and demonstrate once again the uncontrolled illegal immigration poses a concrete threat to the security of Europe's borders. It does. What are you going to do about it, Georgia? I've spoken with Interior Minister Matteo Piano. Oh, God, I'm not even trying. Italy will not stand by and watch. We are convening the relevant bodies, and following these meetings, we are prepared to intervene with extraordinary measures to defend the borders and safety of citizens, including the suspension of the Schengen area with Spain. They're fine words. Now back it up with action. On illegal immigration, we will not yield an inch, defending the borders, stopping human traffickers, and ensuring effective repatriations will continue to be the line of this government. They're fine words. I hope she backs it up. There's a lot of the critics say she says a lot of this stuff, but then she backflips on it. So, but that's exactly the attitude you should be having. I think you should be going further. This is not people smugglers. This is an organised. You saw the police officer with that truckload of men. It's not traffickers doing this. This is the Islamic government of Morocco who are behind this, and somebody else. It's organised. It's planned. Don't tell me this is just traffickers. They're not. They're capable. Then I'm not so sure they're that capable. And that's what you're seeing in. Sorry, I'll get my ugly face back up here for a minute. That's what you're seeing in Europe. Now, you heard about what it's for the inner elite. There's the inner elite leftists. They want it for their economy so they can enjoy their well-to-do life and change their sex and live in mansions and buy the best clothes and do all the things they want to do and not have kids and not contribute to society. Just be a leech on it. But they need their immigrant slaves to be able to continue, in their opinion, like that lady said, the two of those ladies said, for that to happen. You know, those elite, those privileged elite are as big an enemy as the immigrants crossing our borders. And in Australia, it's probably more concerning because Albo and Burke are allowing this rise of immigration legally. Don't have to declare an amnesty. You just come on in. 500,000 people apparently in the last 6 or 7 months. Now, I haven't, well, I could find access, but I've got better things to do with my life, to be honest. I'll keep looking at that off X and we'll see how we go. And people will have a crack at me for that. And just get Glenn back off for a minute. I'm coming back to Glenn in a tick. Oh, Glenn's just lost me. I'll stop sharing for a minute. So yeah, that flag there means nothing to them. And as that guy said, this is all about votes. Albo, Burke, Bowen, no, they can't win with everyday Australians that are born and bred here. But if they bring in enough immigrants, they think they can appeal to them and they will win enough seats to stay in power. This is all a power trip. It's all about political power, which when you think about it is really pathetic. Really, really pathetic. They can't win on their ideas. They can't win on what policies would be in the best interest of Australia. So they have to bring in all this immigration, give them a whole bunch of our taxpayer dollars in whether it's Centrelink payments, whether it's healthcare, whether it's accommodation, whatever it is. And they will turn them into citizens and give them a vote, and that will help keep them, these bastards, in power for another term. So, and why they want to stay in power, they'll say all these policies and, you know, we'll have all our theories. End of the day, they want their snout in the trough. These guys live a high life. They're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're a cabinet minister, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, up to 300,000, maybe more with perks. They can live the high life. They've got their snout in their trough and they want to keep it there. That's the main driver behind staying in power. They don't care about whether your or my cost of living goes up. They don't care whether energy bills goes up. They don't care whether we're fighting for housing. As long as their snouts can stay in that trough, they will keep doing what their masters tell them to do. That much is obvious. If you can't see it, then you're not looking. And I'm a big believer in democracy. This is why I want the One Nation candidates to come on and talk to me. This is why I want any candidate to come on and talk. What do you believe in? Do you believe we should have a freeze on immigration? I've got it on my policy page. I'm saying 10-year freeze until this madness in Europe ends, this madness in America ends, this madness here ends. Freeze it. Lock down our borders. Sorry, find another way. If that's going to hurt our economy, find another way to build our economy up. Israel does it. They don't have mass immigration. They're fighting for their very survival. They're a country of 9 million, but they have a strong economy. Why can't we have a similarly strong economy without having to rely on mass immigration with people who don't really bring a lot to the plate here in Australia? Now, a lot of them do. I deal with immigrant families all the time. I've made arguments for immigration. I'm not anti-immigration. I am anti what we've just seen. Just flooding in, no checks, fighting age men. I mean, if this really, pardon my French here, if this really goes to shit, and let's say all these guys flood into Spain, and then Spain and Italy and these countries shut down their borders. Now, let's say it's France and Portugal, for example, are the most open to this threat, and it is a threat. And these guys, these 80,000 guys that are just flooding in to Spain, then decide, well, we want to go to France. France seals their borders. France has let in huge numbers of immigrants from Islamic countries. What could happen then if France puts the border and says their Islamic brothers can't cross, and then the Islamic mob rise in France and say, you got to let them cross? You're heading for war in Europe. You're heading for not civil war, you're looking for a civil war across Europe. You're not looking at it in one country. They will start to rise. You'll have I mean, you can just nearly see it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist here. The fifth column is established in Germany, in France, in Italy, in the UK, in Sweden. It's everywhere throughout Europe, in Belgium, in the Netherlands. Only as you get further east to countries like Poland, Hungary, has it been denied. There's some real issues in Europe, and if it goes down in Europe, it'll go down here as well. I hate to be the bearer of doom and gloom, but this is how important our election's coming up, and this is one of the reasons I'm going Monday to Friday. If you don't vote for the right people in the upcoming elections in November and then in 2028, Australia itself could be in big trouble. Because if there's issues over in Europe, how do you think the immigration rose here? Because people fled those countries. We're going to get the same issues. You saw that Islamic guy in his shop. He's got a picture of Gaddafi there. He's a big proponent of Iran, a big supporter of Iran, another Islamic state. He's a big supporter of Sanchez, just a rabid socialist. And socialists want to tear down your countries. They want to make life harder, not easier. They want to tear your countries apart. Anyway, it's 10:08. I've given you enough to feed on. I do want to finish off with one last thing, and that's just what you just saw with Glenn Beck. We had all the Fauci stuff on yesterday for COVID. God, our governments, whether it's immigration, whether it's COVID, it's never ending, is it? Again, another reason I want to make sure we've got the right people. Have I got it sharing? So this is Kennedy. Now, you will hear a lot about Fauci's diaries. Listen to Kennedy. He's a hard listen because of his voice, but he's a good man. Just have a listen. This is what we're going to finish off with.
You found these diaries, and everybody is saying, these are private diaries. Could you please lay this to rest? These are not private. They were, I don't know why he put them on, but they were put on government servers.
Yeah, well, every American knows this who has a job. If you go into your office and the company that you work for gives you a laptop and you do work on that laptop, it belongs to the company.
Absolutely does.
And that is true. That is federal law. If you do something on a government server, it belongs to the government. So he was keeping a diary for the book that he intended to write about his life. And
so it was all about money again with Fauci.
At the end of his term, just before he was leaving, he emailed the entire diary to himself. So for years and years of keeping this daily journal, he emailed it to himself so that he could write his book, and that's how we found it, through those emails.
But he knows that. I mean,
it's not a diary. It's not a diary in the sense, like you said, that a teenage girl keeps a diary that's private and has a lock on it. This is a government computer, a government laptop on government time, keeping this account of what his official duties are, and then making private observations about them. The liberal media is now feigning indignation that we released private diaries and violated his privacy, but it's a crazy assertion. And, what they're really doing is covering up this, like you pointed out, this vast media malpractice that took place during COVID, when they elevated this guy to a deified status, who had funded the weaponization of coronavirus, who then had given it to a Chinese military-run lab, to two scientists there, Xi Jinping and Ben Hu, who further weaponized it using NIH technology that they got from another NIH grantee, Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they created SARS-CoV-2, and Ben Hu, who was seen as a second scientist on it, is patient zero. So he was the first person to get sick from COVID-19. And then, if you look at the subway line that goes from the Wuhan lab, all the original cases were on that subway line. So these scientists were infected. They were getting on the subway. People were getting infected, at each stop along the way. And that subway led right from the Wuhan lab to the airport. So people then spread it internationally.
Unbelievable. So when you hear, and you're going to hear it, you are going to hear this from the media, that this was a private diary and they shouldn't be doing this, and this is an attack on Fauci. I'm going to be sharing a lot of this Fauci stuff and the COVID-19 stuff. There's got to be a royal commission, both at state level and federal level, in every state and federally, into our COVID response. We can't let these bastards get away with it. When you go to the election, you should be asking your local candidate, are you going to support a royal commission in the COVID-19's response from our government, starting with this election? If the answer is no, don't vote for the bastards. Just do not vote for them. It's as simple as that. Sadly, I think people just want to get on with their lives. I'll be asking. Hopefully enough of you be asking. Hopefully people should be disgusted with what's come out in that Senate committee yesterday with Fauci. They should be disgusted with what's coming out with these diaries that he kept on government servers and public knowledge. The media is going to say, well, they're sharing his diaries. Well, yeah, they are, because he put them on a work computer, which is kind of stupid. And it shows you the arrogance and the narcissism of this man, that he thought he could get away with it. We went through 3 years of hell. 3 years of hell. People lost their lives. People are still suffering from the impacts of the vaccine. And I get it. I wanted to move on with my life, but watching that Senate hearing today just brought it all flooding back. So, and there's bastards in Australia that have gotten away with what I think is criminal behaviour. Scott Morrison, Dan Andrews, Greg Hunt, those bastards, they did enormous damage to so many people. And the list goes on. It's not just those. There's so many. In every state, you've got your premier, you've got your health minister, you've got your head of health, whoever it is that dictated all these shutdowns and border closures and all this. Every single one of those bastards should be held accountable. And you can only get to that by a royal commission. What was happening behind the scenes? Did they all believe this Fauci bullshit? And one last thing. This is why I want to be Australia first. But we also can't be unaware of what's going on in other places on this globe. Fauci's bullshit reached across the Pacific Ocean and hit us and hurt us hard here in Australia. So be Australia first, but don't be ignorant of what else is going on in the globe. You can't be Australian only. You have to know what's going on in the globe. This shit that's going on in Spain with these 80,000 these immigrants just flooding across. There's no checkpoints, nothing. Fighting age men flooding across, invading another country, which is what they're doing, and their president's giving them amnesty. It's insane. We're in insane times, and we've just got to be aware of these things so we can actually take action here to prevent it before it's too late. Let's hope it's not too late already. Anyway, sad note to finish off on a Friday. So from me and my boy, there he is. Come on, JJ. Say goodbye. This makes my day. All right. Makes things a bit more relevant in your life. God bless you. God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. God bless your pets. God bless that flag. God bless this country. Let's protect it. Let's get it back to what it was. And that's my intention through this program. Let's be interested to see what One Nation have got coming up on Monday. I'll be very interested. Empty chairs start next Friday. Have a great weekend. Hope your footy team wins. And I'll see you Monday morning around 9ish. Bye for now.